Alrighty, here we are. We're starting off and we got a hobby tech update. Yes, we're going to be talking about a hobby tech update. We're going to talk about the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, the rug pull. Yeah, that's not filling people with a lot of joy. And then we're going to talk about the Creality Falcon T1, which is laser engraving. So we're doing FDM printers, we're doing a laser engraver, and then the new Bambu vortex or whatever it is, the new multi-head system that's coming out. And we're going to talk about these things and get your 2 cents. So anyway, my name is Steve. I'm the hobby retired tech guy, American expat here in Korea. And yeah, we're starting out the day with some hobby tech news. George pops in, says howdy. Hey, how's it going, George? We're rocking the day in here in Korea. And it's a little bit later than usual. It's about 8:35 in the morning. Got a little bit of a slow start, but we're going to continue on and rock this. So the first thing we're going to talk about on this is the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. Now, for those of you who don't know, that is a resin FDM printer, which it's kind of like instead of a spool of thread, you have a spool of plastic, and it goes into a machine and it heats up the plastic and melts it, and then it just lays down layers, and you can make some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it is some pretty amazing stuff that we got going on here. Well, the whole thing with the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, now Elegoo is mostly known for, I would say, I mean, they got some 3D printers and stuff like that, but mostly they're resin printers. I've got the Saturn III Ultra, they have a Saturn IV Ultra, they have a Saturn IV Ultra 16K, and so that's how I know Elegoo is mainly through resin printing, but they do FDM printing as well. So here's a little story, a little backstory. They came up and they have done some FDM printing, some 3D printers in the past, and like other companies, they've grown, they've expanded. They put out products and they say, hey, here's the direction that we're going to go. So they came out with a Centauri Carbon. Now, the thing about the Centauri Carbon is that it was wickedly underpriced. And especially the time during the tariff wars that have been going on, everybody thought 3D printers are going to get very expensive. So, but they didn't. What we ended up seeing, and at least what I've seen, is a lot of 3D printers from China have gone down in price because I guess it's better to sell those and make just a little bit profit or even break even than just having sitting on the shelf and not being paid whatsoever. So yeah, went kind of the opposite route. I mean, everybody's like, oh, 3D printing is going to, be destroyed and all that we know because things are going to be 50%, 30% more. No, we've actually seen prices go down 30%, and there's even companies now that are dropping their prices for sales for the holidays, and they have new products coming out up to 50, 53%. Yeah, absolutely crazy. So you can get some screaming deals that is coming up. So anyway, with the Centauri Carbon, I wanted to talk about this, and we'll take a look at this here. If it will, there we go. Computer's a little slow this morning. This is the Centauri Carbon, and what you can end up seeing, it was $413. Now it's $280. That is insane. Core XY, 500 millimeters per second velocity, 20,000 acceleration, 256 by 256, which if you look at 256 millimeters, it's basically 10 and a quarter, it's basically 10 inches. It's about 10 inches. So, yeah, about 10 inches, which is a decent, I guess that was the standard set by Bambu, and everybody else kind of followed with that build area. Well, Centauri Carbon came out, they did all this cool stuff, and you can see side-mounted, 256 cubed, everything is cut and down to build plate size. They added all the bells and whistles, and the Centauri Carbon ended up being something that was going to be an incredible machine right out of the box. And then on top of that, with the low price that it was, people were like, how can they make any money? And so people started scraping these up. Well, it ends up that with the Centauri Carbon, it's got all the stats and everything and camera. I mean, pretty much everything that you would want for a compact 256 cube build area printer into this thing that was so inexpensive. And then at the time, there was also talk about how they were going to do multi-material printing, which was going to come into the future. At some future date. And that was kind of the thing, is that, you get this, and then at a future date, what you'll end up with is you'll be able to buy a multi-material system to work with the Centauri Carbon, and inexpensive as well. And so you are going to make out like a fat rat sometime in the future when all of this comes to fruition. Well, it didn't really come to much fruition, because Elegoo ended up it hits me right there. It comes up that Elegoo sent out an update talking about the Centauri Carbon and kind of backpedaling a few, saying, hey, we might not be able to do what we said we were going to do in the direction that we were going to go. And I don't know how I feel about this. This kind of bugs me a little bit. And the fact, you build up the hype, you have a machine, it's low priced, inexpensive, it does good printing, for the most part of what we've seen online, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. People that want to get into 3D printing and don't want to have an entire workshop that they need to have, but they can set it on a desk or something. This was a very good system, and with the promise of multi-material printing sometime in the future, which they're working towards, it seemed like a no-brainer. People were scarfing these things up in the hopes that, I'll get the machine, we'll get the multi-printer ability later on. That'll be a simple add-on and easy peasy. It didn't end up that way. And Elegoo did the rug pull. So that's what we're going to talk about. What we're going to look at now is the rug pull that they did. So here is the Centauri Carbon. It's a pretty sexy looking machine, if you ask me. And update notice on the Centauri Carbon, and we'll let's see if we can blow this up just a little bit. Or I wonder if I can do this, we can make it bigger. Okay, yeah. Dear Centauri Carbon users, thank you for your continued support for the Centauri Carbon since its launched. We've received positive feedback on user friendliness, speed, quality. Additionally, the multicolor add-on has been highly anticipated. Yes, it was, because you put that out there. Based on our recent feedback, we hereby share with you the following updates. I'm thinking that when you start off with something like this, you're going to get a timeline. You're going to get a progress report on probably not going to be, I'm thinking it's probably, when I first read this, I thought, well, it's might not make it for, November, maybe December. Worst case scenario, it'll be the first part of next year. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I first read this. And we'll see what happens. Since last year, our engineering team has been working on multicolor printing for the Carbon due to some limitation of the hardware. So far, the developing multicolor system has not yet delivered a performance that meets our expectation, and we cannot guarantee a release date for the multicolor system so far. That doesn't fill me with joy. It's limitation of the hardware. There's people that have made multi-material systems, third-party systems that can hook up to other printers. So is it the hardware of the Centauri Carbon itself? I would venture and say no, it's not. Is it the hardware limitation of the multi-material system? Maybe they just don't know how to do it and they're running into problems. They bit off more than they can chew. But other companies, hell, even individuals have made their own multi-material systems. Granted, they're not as great as the Bambu or Creality, CFS, or things like that. But there are people out there that have developed multi-material systems that apparently work. But Elegoo doesn't have it. It's not a thing. So anyway, we can't guarantee a release date for the multicolor system. So I was holding out for some hope in that it would probably come out next year. They're just kind of postponing this. They say, we understand this news may disappoint the users. To express our sincere anticipation for your trust and understanding, we're providing the following exclusive benefit for users who have already purchased Centauri Carbon. So for the people, basically what this ends up saying is that if you bought a Centauri Carbon and you got into the hype, you got the Carbon because of the future multi-material system that would come sometime in the near future, you're gonna get something for not getting that, and that's what Elegoo ends up saying. First one is a $50 coupon valid for 3 months for filament on their site. A filament order over $100 for 3 months. Option B, 365-day warranty extension for your Carbon, excluding consumable parts. So basically, the door, the frame, the big stuff that will probably never go bad. Okay, option C, an $80 USD coupon applicable to your purchase of the Centauri Carbon 2 combo to be released in first quarter of 2026. So now we know that Centauri Carbon 2 is coming out. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger, I'm imagining, and you get $80 off of that. So yeah, there's that. You can claim one of the benefits there. Once again, thank you for being part of the community and blah, blah, blah. Warm regards. I have mixed feelings about this, because with the promise or, the implication that we're going to do a multi-material system, and now they're just saying, hey, we're done. Here's some coupons for some consumable items or a warranty that is a $50 filament coupon that has to be used within 3 months, another 360-day extended warranty for, in all likelihood, parts on your Centauri Carbon that will not need a warranty, or an $80 coupon on the next Centauri Carbon 2. And so apparently it sounds like they're giving up on the multi-material system, which doesn't fill me with a big warm fuzzy. I just don't get that. It doesn't seem like good news. And there's the question of, well, are you going to continue to work on getting a multi-material system in the future? And with that, since that is not addressed, here's what George ends up saying: it's hard to trust him after this. That doesn't give me a warm fuzzy. And so is it because, hey, we bit off more than we can chew? We did the Centauri Carbon. We were trying to do the multi-material system at the same time. And now we're doing the 2. And so now we got too much on our plate. So we have to go with the 2. And so we're just going to let the multi-material unit, we're going to let that by the wayside until, are they going to do it next year or anytime, or just not at all? We're just going to pump out printers and that's all we're going to do. It's real nebulous. It doesn't fill me with a lot of hope for that. So I almost bought the Centauri Carbon. I thought about it because of the low price. And with that, the current price on that thing is $280. But I don't know. It's just, after reading that, I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't know. It just doesn't seem, that is their big printer besides the Neptune series, like the Neptune 4, the 4 Max, 4 Plus Pro, Neptune 4, whatever, the open gantry system, bed slinging type of things. And then, of course, they had their horrendous Yeah, Gigastorm, which that thing, when that came out, let's go down memory lane here. Here is the orange Gigastorm. And when you see this, it was $3,100. Now it's $2,300, and it's 800 by 800 by 1,000. But when this thing first popped up, and you can actually see it there, it actually consisted of like four build plates that were put together, and now it looks like they have 2 build plates put together. And the way it was wired, and where's the filament go, and just the horrible results that they ended up having on that, just didn't, for me, it just didn't fill me with a lot of joy. Now, I almost considered getting this, but when as an electronics person of some sorts, I worked as an electronics technician for the state of Colorado, and doing IP cameras and fiber optics and computer systems and, redundant hard drives for video and audio and all kinds of things. I worked on prison doors, keeping the doors closed to keep the prisoners inside. Looking at the Elegoo Gigastorm, the Orange Storm, whatever it is, it was like, there's the bed heating issue. There's a number of other issues. It's just, it just didn't fill me with a lot of joy. And so I'm glad I'm not, because after the Orange Storm came out, so many people had so many problems with it. And there's people out there, influencers, who reviewed it that could never get it to work. And there's still people that are still trying to get it to work. Some people have got it to work, but pretty much it's been a failure for Elegoo. So, as far as Elegoo for being 3D printer people, their Neptune series for bed slingers back in the day, maybe. But now we're way past that. We're on Core XY. Their Carbon seems to be a decent machine, but without the MMU, we're really going a step backwards when it comes to Elegoo. So now that they're coming out with the version 2, the Centauri Carbon 2, and not putting out a multi-material system, I don't know. Elegoo's just not filling me with a lot of confidence right now. I think they do good with their resin printing, but so far, this is a little hiccup. So we're just going to say it's a hiccup right now. Ferrithus pops up and says, "Hey, good morning, or good evening, where you're at." We're doing a little tech update here, and we're talking about the Centauri Carbon and how they Elegoo did the rug pull and saying we're not going to do a multi-material system, and you can get some coupons or whatever. And for the people that kind of bought into the hype of the Centauri Carbon being inexpensive and an MMU is going to be added at some future date, and now it's not. In the letter that they ended up, the update that they put out, they didn't even address whether they're going to continue doing an MMU at all. So I think that would be something that I would want to put into the update, saying, hey, we're doing the Centauri Carbon 2. We're not doing the MMU right now. We're going to do it a little bit later on. But we didn't even get that. Just hold on to your Centauri Carbon, because we will have an MMU system. I think we're so far down the road that Elegoo is, one step forward, 2 steps back. They came out with the Centauri Carbon, which is a great little machine, 256 cubed. The Centauri Carbon 2, I bet it's going to be a little bit bigger, basically scale it up, 30, 40, 50% or something like that. I don't know, or, somewhere around there. They're going to scale that up, and they're going to sell that next big machine. But it still doesn't have an MMU, which seems to be standard, or pretty much almost standard, is a lot of companies will have that bundled together with their machines. And Elegoo's just late to the party. I think Elegoo does well with their resin printing. Their FDM printing, I think they're a little short on all of that stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Creality Falcon T1. For those of you, Creality does FDM printing, but they also do laser engraving. Now, laser engraving is kind of cool. I did a little bit of laser engraving. I'm still looking to get another system. And so when I saw this on their page, I was like, ooh, this could be interesting. So we're going to take a look at this. Let's just jump right into it here. And if we look on to the Falcon Laser Global, and it ends up saying it's a sub-brand of Creality specializing in laser crafting. So with that, here's what we end up seeing. And this is their T1. It is the first 5-in-1 laser engraver. Engraving, cutting, new possibilities, redefines what a machine can do. They'll be at Form next, which will be interesting. There it is, the first 5-in-1 laser engraver. And if we zoom in on this, kind of looks like it's going to be a Galvo type laser, kind of similar to what we see with X-Tool. I'm kind of getting that X-Tool tower vibe off of this, and emergency switch and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see. Some people have said it'll be like a flying Galvo laser, so we'll see how that comes into play. Ferrithus pops in and says, multi-material is cool, you don't need to swap. But I see a lot of people just print single materials, especially the bed slingers. And that's absolutely true. You know, there's a number of people. I've got the Creality K2 Plus, and matter of fact, I could check in on my print because we're actually doing a print. And we could show, so I'm doing a little card there, TIE Fighter, TIE Interceptor print on a smooth PEI sheet. So we're doing that. But yeah, I've got the Creality K2 Plus. Seems to be a great system. The CFS, I'm like Ferrithus, I'm not really into multi-material printing. I don't know, I had some issues with the CFS, and so it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm more of a one material type of printing guy. But I know that. And for people with CFSs or multi-material units, there's people that are definitely doing that. You know, people who do side gigs or just love printing in multicolors or multi-material, whatever. So it's good to have options. So yeah, but yeah, bed slingers, stuff like that. It's kind of like, it seems like old school these days, especially with all the advancements we have. Ferrithus says 5-in-1. Wonder what that means. Can't be wavelength. Flying Galvo wouldn't be so boxy. They're usually larger in footprint. Simple Galvo system. That's what I'm thinking. Some of the other information that I saw. And let me see if it was here. Let's see. Let's see translation there. I think this more laser engraver, powerful modular platform switch. Well, I'll probably kind of show you what we're doing here. Found online. Laser engraver, powerful modular, switch and combine 5 laser types, 20 watt and 40 watt diode lasers, 20 watt fiber lasers, 60 watt MOPA, and 5 watt UV to achieve unprecedented versatility. Single machine replaces multiple devices, saves space, reduces costs, and expands your creative potential. That sounds pretty impressive. Talk about an all-in-one. You know, switch between 5 lasers, 20 watt and 40 watt diode, 20 watt fiber, 60 watt MOPA, and 5 watt UV. You're going to be able to do everything with this. That is pretty impressive. I mean, and that's the other thing that I ended up finding is similar to what this Michael Bayer found. I found some stuff on that. So hopefully that is true. Hopefully this pans out. But that would be a pretty incredible system there if it does all that. And it's going to come at a hefty price tag, but that could be huge right there. Let's see. Ferrithus pops up and says, I print many materials, so the CFS is awesome for me. I have ABS, PLA, and PC almost always loaded in there. Yeah, going back to the printers. Yeah, so a lot of new stuff is coming out, and there's so many different options when it comes with 3D printing and laser engraving. Things are just advancing like nobody's business, so we're going to get into that more. Hey, Terry pops up. Good to see you. Good to see you. Ferrithus talks says, MOPA fiber is definitely the future. Now they just have to get pulse lasers into the consumer market. You can do everything with that. Yeah, I mean, just imagine 5-10 years ago how expensive 3D printing was, how, laser engraving, all of that. And now what we can do today compared to then has just gone leaps and bounds. It has been absolutely insane on what we can end up doing. So this Falcon T1, which I don't know, we don't have any sense of scale in this, but I'm saying I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's kind of similar to like the tower systems of Xtool. So I'm fully expecting that you'll have this 5-in-1 laser system with all of those different lasers. Holy crow, that would be incredible. And then probably some type of conveyor system similar to the Xtool series. So that way you have a modular system. You can have your bed or your conveyor belt where you can do multiple items similar to what Xtool did, and that could be huge. And of course, if they're doing this, I fully imagine Xtool and other companies won't be far behind with that as well. So yeah, it is very, very interesting on what is popping up on the horizon. With that being said, the next thing that is coming out is Bambu with their new system. Their new machine is coming out, and it is their new multi-head system, multi-nozzle system, the vortex, whatever it ends up being. This is going to be huge, especially people that do multi-material printing, because it's going to, and coil induction, it is going to be absolutely crazy. Ferrithus says, I still love my A1 Pro, just wish the IR module was higher power. Hope they come out with a UV module for that as well. Should be possible. Yeah. And the laser engraver I have is like 5 watts. I got one sent to me to do a review. It was kind of like the cheapest laser you could get off of Amazon. I've got videos on it on my YouTube page, and I did a number of things. I still engrave slate coasters with it and stuff like that, but it's only like a 100 by 100 engraving area. So it's super limited, and I've used it. I did like 400 coasters. Probably close to 500 slate coasters so far, and I've noticed the power has decreased on it, so it's kind of like on its last leg. Of course, it's never claimed to be like a side gig production type of thing. It's more of just a couple $100 to get your kids involved and do something cool with them or whatever. But yeah, eventually I want to get a big size laser. So, but that's kind of put off on, that'll be at a later date. Because if you buy it at the height, I'm going to wait for some sales because I'm cheap. And don't tell anybody, but I'm cheap. So yeah, there's that. It is just amazing. I love the laser engraving and all the stuff you could do with it. Ferrithus pops up and says, I'm very tempted to open up the IR module and see if I can tube it for higher power. More power. That would be good. Shoot, might as well. Give it a shot, You don't have much to lose. I mean, well, you could. You could lose something. But, it's amazing on what things can do. But be careful whenever you upgrade something that goes beyond the specs of the machine itself, because that could cause some problems, maybe, With that, getting into the Bambu, the new Bambu machine, the vortex or whatever it is, a multi-material, or not a multi-material, but a multi-head system. This is going to, and they're the first ones coming out. So they're already going to be at Formex, and then Bondtech has their index system, but they've shown it and it's working, but they haven't done like an official thing of where it's in a machine. It's going to be offered kind of like with the pomp and circumstance that we see with the Bambu here. So what I want to do is show this video of the, let's see, we get some volume there. And watch this, and this will be wild.
For the past 3 years, we've been working on a cleaner, more effective way to handle multicolor prints. In 2022, we launched the X1 series and democratized multicolor 3D printing forever, making it more accessible to seasoned users and newcomers alike. I mean, who can deny the joy of crafting with all colors of the rainbow? But this came at the cost of purge. Those little noodles of regret that get spat out with every print. It's wasteful, it's time consuming, and it's a problem that plagues every player in the industry. Purging the printer is like washing a paintbrush between colors. You clean it every time so one color doesn't contaminate the next. So, how do you eliminate this tedious step? Use multiple brushes, each with a dedicated color. Sounds simple, but with 3D printing, which part is equivalent to the brush? The nozzle? The tool head? The entire gantry? Some put multiple tool heads on a shared gantry to avoid disconnections, sacrificing space for greater stability. Others squeeze more nozzles in the tool head. More compact overall, but print speeds suffer with such a bulky assembly. So it's a trade-off between reliability, volume, and cost. Typically, contamination happens in the hot end. So we set our sights on a simple approach aimed right at the source. We call it the vortex hot end change system. It's one of the first induction heated, fully automated hot end swap solutions. We avoided using cables or pogo pins that easily wear out when the hot end is swapped thousands of times in a single print. Instead, a built-in chip syncs with the printer wirelessly to transmit power and real-time data like temperature, filament type, and so on. Without compromising efficiency, the nozzle heats by induction in just 8 seconds. Vortex is our epilogue to the imperfections of X1. It's our first attempt to solve the problem of purge.
Wow.
And we couldn't be more eager to share it with you in an exciting new launch later this year.
That is impressive. That is going to be pretty wild. So, yeah, the new Bambu is coming out, the Vortex system, and that is going to be, again, I think with their track record and them bringing out such great products, and right out the gate, they are going to be the ones, they're going to be in first place. So Bondtech with their index system, hopefully some company that they go with, maybe some people have theorized that maybe it's going to be Prusa. I haven't really seen anything other than Prusa. Maybe Soval, there's rumors about that, but we don't know. There's nothing that's been released talking about a multi-tool head system with induction heating with the index system with any other company. But now Bambu has come out with this and said, boom, we're going to be rocking this. And I think this is going to be huge because they're going to be the first ones to the plate with a workable product. And did you see how on the side where you had the had all the nozzles and how it kind of did that number? Space saving, all of that, induction heating, 8 seconds, which induction heating, and then the wireless transmission of that information instead of relying on physical contact pins, going into receptacle, male, female, hundreds or thousands of times during a print, which can wear and cause some problems. All of that is done wirelessly. Boom! That is, that blew my mind. And I'm kind of an old guy, so I'm kind of used to the physical contact thing to get information from point A to point B. But to be able to have a wireless system between those things, is just going to be a game changer. It is going to be crazy, crazy. Ferrithis says, I like the nozzle swap idea, but their solution still needs to retract and feed the filament. That still needs time. The multi-tool head system is still superior. Yeah. There's something to be said for that, but it compared to their H2D, how, obviously you're going to get a little bit quicker if you just have the two heads and one is loaded with one color, one's loaded with the other, and boom, it's a done deal. When you look at the Creality, or not the Creality, but the Bambu, let me see if we can find that. And we can go through here and take a look. I'll show you what I'm doing. The vortex hot end system. And so, but here's the thing. Let's just go ahead and silence that. So you got these things that come up, and it will take the induction nozzle. So you've got that. So you have a dedicated nozzle. So that goes in there. But when you look up here at the top, you're still going to need to have that retraction. Like Ferrithis says, you've got, let's see, we've got, I don't know if you can see up there, that looks like filament. That could be filament. I don't know. Are you going to have multiple? Yeah, that wireless thing is going to be crazy. But even if you have this change in the nozzle, like what you have there, I really wish they'd show the top of it so that you could see how many. Maybe we could back that up and see a little bit. It doesn't show the lines going in, the PTF tubes. We don't see anything. Well, there's that. But that's a mock-up. Oh, did we see it up there? Watch right up there. Let's back this up like. Did you see that? Oh, 24. See, we've got one. I don't know. That looks like it's on the cable chain. There's maybe two. I don't know. Do you have 4 different feed lines coming into your tool head? If that, then you would have, it wouldn't take as long for the retraction to come through. But the problem is they just don't show it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Let's see if we can get back to, changing, carbon, that. Oh, let's see if we can get a little bit of a, it's hard to tell because it doesn't show the top of that thing. And I think that's, it just doesn't show anything as far as how that goes. So I don't know if it has just the one. Oh, there it is. Let's see if we can catch that. So there we've got right up there. It looks like we have 2 lines there. So, and then, so that looks like a PTFE tube. That looks like another tube. And then this looks like connectors, just electrical wire connector things or whatever. So I don't know. If it had individual PTFE tubes for each one of those, then it would be very minimal retraction time. But if it's 2, I mean, it reduces that a little bit, but I don't know. It's hard to tell with that. That is, but then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then had the other system came up, so maybe 5 different tool heads. So that way you get your 4 colors and the side spool holder could do as well. And then maybe you have 2. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's an interesting little thing. Uh, it's the H2D they were showing, so you have one permanent nozzle and a filament and one that swaps back and forth. Yeah. So, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so like this one would be the permanent one going for that one nozzle there, and then you could switch out your other colors with this one here, but you would still need to retract. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so it would still have to retract between these different heads or these nozzles. These nozzles and hot ends get put in there, but you're still going to have to retract for the different colors that you have on those. So yeah, there's got to be some. Yeah, there's Ferrithus nailed it again. He's the man. It will take a little bit of time, but that is going to be. I think people are going to jump all over this. They will jump on over this. Bondtech needs to get on and get working with a company to get a machine, but then you're going to have that Bondtech index, which is you're going to have a PTFE tube for each individual head or coil, so you have a dedicated line for each tool head or nozzle, I should say. So Bondtech index, and so if we take a look at that, so this will kind of clear things up there. So if we take a look, we can see that they have like multiple systems or multiple heads on there, but you're going to have a dedicated PTFE tube for each color. So for each spool, you're going to have your own head, you're going to have your own induction, your own nozzle. So again, that amount of, yeah, look at that. That is just going to be, let's see if we can pop this up. Yeah, whatever. So there they've got all the tools over there, but you've got an individual head, and each one has their own PTFE tube that goes into the system there, and they have the CPAP cooling that goes through. So, but that adds a lot of bulk to that thing. But you're going to have minimal time. You're going to have minimal retraction time, and each one is going to have its own dedicated color. So the swaps are going to be just quick as hell. So. Ferrithus says they basically add a lot of moving parts just to eliminate the pooping. Yep, they did. Yep, to eliminate the poop. And I think as in Bambu style, if they made the perfect printer all at once, then they would lose a lot of sales. So we know Bambu in other countries are exactly the same when they talk and they say, hey, we're doing this system, and then they have 2 or 3 or 4 different types of iterations of that. And if you built one great, awesome system, you would lose out on the sales on all of those things. So it's kind of like Apple, the planned obsolescence and some, the tiered type of products that you have so that you can or meet all of the requirements for certain categories, hobbyists and this and that, to try to capture as much of the market as possible. So yeah, there's definitely that. George says, looks nice, but more complicated it is, the more problems it will have. I'm not trying to be a downer. Yeah, well, there's something to be said for that. The more moving parts, the more apt it is to break. And especially with 3D printing. Holy crow, back in the day, even with just one head in the old bed slingers, just those moving parts, you spent more time tinkering on those machines than you actually did printing. So, but now we're getting to the place of where the advancements are getting really, really huge. And the index system will outshine the Bambu because you have a dedicated induction heated nozzle for each filament and tubes, so minimal retraction times and so on and so forth. Man, excuse me. Don't want to sneeze. But it's ugly. It is just straight up ugly. I mean, you gotta admit. I mean, that's an ugly thing there. That is an ugly thing. To have all this stuff, and then if you try to have an enclosed machine, you've got these that are hanging up there. You got your CPAP, which is probably going to be loud. And, thankfully that's a small machine. But that is a small machine, but you've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 heads there, which is pretty impressive. But it's just ugly. And it just kind of gives me the vibe, kind of like the Prusa XL, where you have the multi-head systems and the big lines and all that stuff. And the enclosure that to put that and enclose it is just this monstrosity. So it's going to be ugly, but it's going to be way more efficient than the Bambu. But I think Bambu is going to, a bunch of people are going to jump on this. And maybe later they'll get into a because you can't make the perfect system because they'll lose out. It's kind of like the high jump guy with the pole vault guy, and supposedly for his, I know this is kind of getting off topic, but he got a sponsorship deal where if he broke a world record, he would get X amount of money or whatever it is, so many bennies. Well, instead of just going as high as he could possibly go, what he ended up doing is just doing up a little bit, world record here. And then he just do a little bit more, world record here. And then a little one here, and a little one here, and a little one here. So he kept improving instead of just blowing his load and getting to the max that he could go. Let's say he gets $500,000. Okay, if that's what you get for breaking the world record, he was smart and he said, well, here's a world record. I'm going to break it here, 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 in increments of inches, an inch or two. And then, next time he breaks another world record, his own world record, he would be able to reap more rewards off of that than just going all for broke and, being done with it. So he was playing the long game. And I think that's what Bambu is doing. It's kind of like Apple, kind of like Bambu, kind of like Xtool. they're playing for the long game, and people they'll eat into this. You got the what you call it, the Bambu fanboys and girls that are going to get these machines, and of course they're going to love them to death. And yeah, it will reduce the amount of poop that comes out, but the index machine, that is going to that machine right there, that is going to be the incredible thing right there. So I personally, if I was so deep into multi-material printing, color printing and side gig, and where time is money and wasted poo and filament is money as well, I would wait for the Bondtech index system to come out with whichever company that they're going to go with. The Bambu one, it would reduce poop, but I think they're going in increments. So eventually they'll get to the place of where we see the Bondtech in their system and what they're going to end up having. So yeah, that's it's going to be pretty wild. Ferthus says individual heads make more sense in my opinion. Less moving parts, and if one hot end breaks down, you can keep printing and service them individually. Yeah, you've got built-in spares, and which. You're going to pay a little bit on the front end, but on the back end, if you don't print many colors, or even if you just print one, now you have, like on this system that we just saw, with 4 different heads, you're going to have 4 spare parts that are immediately there. And then if you do the one-time off color printing that you do with multicolors or multi-materials, that could come in handy. Or if you print in like PLA and use PETG as a support material or vice versa, or some other, disposable support filaments and things like that, that would, you could make your money off of that as well. So yeah, it looks pretty good. Ferthus also says, I've noticed some of these Asian companies that the product life cycles is very short. Product release 6 to 8 months later, the next one is better. Support has dropped. The good thing is with Bambu, from what I've seen, they're really good on, I think, the longevity. I would have to say Prusa is probably the number one when it comes to parts upgradability from one old system to the new system, and their ecosystem is great. I think Bambu comes in second. They still have good support for the longest time, but a lot of companies like Centauri Carbon, Centauri Carbon and some of this, they still have their Neptune 4, their 4 Pro, 4 Plus, 4 Max, or whatever it is. But eventually those things are going to go away. They're going to stop, just like you said. So, it just depends on how long or are you going to be in the game. There's nothing wrong with older systems, but if you do get an older discounted system, discounted in price, definitely get repair parts. And then that way you can extend that product life. If you've got the parts on hand, then you're good to go. So, Ferrith says, look at the A1 engraver. The logic step would be more powerful or a different wavelength laser modules to upgrade. But they already, after less than 6 months, moved on to the T1. Yeah, that's true. It's Elegoo, that just kind of shows me that Elegoo is like a copy-paste type of company of where it's like, ooh, people are into 3D printers. We'll do a 3D printer. We'll do our bed slinger, and we'll do the Neptune 4. We'll do the Pro, the Plus, the Max, and, very minimal, and then that's it. And their engravers, it seems like it's copy and pasting well. Well, let's do an open gantry laser engraver, and then let's do an enclosed one, and then let's do this one, which is, the T1. Things that X-Tool and other companies who have done far better. Seems like Elegoo is a little late to the game, and they're trying to get some of the market share with that. So, after 6 months, they moved on to the T1, which is true. And that's why I've been kind of waiting. But, with the A1, the T1 comes out, that could be inexpensive, for the older models. That will drop in price as well. So, and then we're coming up on, the Monday, Cyber Monday and Black Friday sales or whatever it is, coming up here real quick. There's that to come into play. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things on the horizon as far as 3D printing, laser engraving, and stuff like that. Bertha says, that would mean they drop support in the sense you don't get parts. Right, yeah, totally agree. More like this is a great platform we could build on. No, we just flip the table and come out with a new platform instead. Yeah, and I totally agree with you there. I think Elegoo is... they're going to experience some of that, but they're trying to, because that's what they've been doing with their Neptune series. And, even their resin printers were like, they didn't really, I don't think they really came into their own until they got into the Saturn series of printers, resin printers. So it's, now they're trying to catch up with doing, 3D printing. Yeah, okay. The Orange Storm or Gigastorm or whatever it is, that huge monstrosity, that was a failed endeavor in my opinion. But now they're trying to make up with the Centauri Carbon, which I think is a good way to go. They learned their lessons and getting into the Core XY, and now they're already planning on doing the Centauri Carbon too. So I think they're taking a page out of the Bambu. So they're behind. It's like the kid copying off of the other kid in school. You're, let me see, we'll do what you're doing. George says, you should look up the Cobra K S1 Max. Yeah. Cobra S1 Max. So let's take a look at that. So there it is. S1 Max. Now we'll just do it. USD. And it pops up at supposedly $750. So 350 cubed build area, 350 Celsius high temperature hot end nozzle, steel, blah, blah, blah. Put in your deposit, get your voucher, pay the balance, wait for shipping. We got all that. $799, $749 with deposit voucher. So that's not bad. So if you could, founder's price offer. That's a pretty good price there. Because if you think about the Creality K2 Plus, this is cheaper than that. So this would, interesting. Into 65-degree chamber heating, that's kind of good. 16 color printing, of course we kind of figured that. Let's see, do we got anything? No, that's about it. So that's a good size printer. That is a good size printer indeed. So yeah, their final price, $749. Remember how everybody was crazy and said, oh, the tariff wars are going to make everything 30-40% more. No, the prices are dirt cheap. That is absolutely wild. $350, same as the K2 Plus. Hardened steel nozzle. If it had a quick release nozzle, that would be the way to go. Accessory bundle. 300 millimeters, 600 max, 600. Recommended 10, 20,000 acceleration. Blah blah blah. Supported spaghetti, supported Brent, blah, blah, blah. 4.3-inch screen. Got it, 48 decibels. Standard, 45. Quiet, that's pretty good. 720p camera, which is good. Nice. 16 colors. For the max. What else do we got on there? Power loss, resume, all the standard stuff. Everything is like standard nowadays. That used to be like, oh my gosh, these are crazy. But that is a pretty good deal as well. Thanks for putting that out there, George. That is a good consideration as well. Ferris says, just ordered a P1S for my dad at Christmas. Would love getting him a K1 instead, but I live far and he needs something to set and forget. So Bambu is pretty much the go-to for that. Yep, totally agree. Oh, the tariffs are definitely making everything more expensive. Some companies are absorbing the cost so far in the hopes that it goes away soon. But at work, I'm totally paying 20 to 30% more extra on everything. That's true. There is that. But yeah, the Chinese companies are taking it. They're taking that to get stuff. It says, if anything, like the regular Cobra S1, then the nozzle is a quick release. Yeah, quick release is the way to go. I think, why other companies like Creality didn't, and so many other companies didn't like jump on that, like Bambu had let out, is just, I don't know why they didn't just run with that. You still got to get the Allen key and, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws maybe. But yeah, the quick release thing, that's the one thing. So the question is, Centauri Carbon rug pull, kind of a little bit of a summary. They promised and implied a lot on how the Centauri Carbon would have a multi-material system, which now they pulled the rug and said, nope, we're not going to do that. But you can get everybody that bought one, we're going to give you some coupons for filament, and you can get an extended warranty for anything that's non-consumable on your machine, which means, yeah, I would just get the coupon for the filament, or $80 off on the Centauri Carbon 2. So now we know that's coming out, which will probably be a bigger build area. I'm not sure as any more bells and whistles, maybe a couple more. But really, we're getting to the point in 3D printing where there's really not a lot of improvements that can be had that don't come with firmware. I think we're getting to the point of where we're almost peaking. And once we get into the coil induction and the multi-head systems, kind of like the Bondtech index system, I think we're going to reach a level where we're going to be at that apex. We're going to be at that peak. And any other changes after that are going to be small and incremental. And I'm not sure what the next big thing will be for FDM printing anyway. So I have no ideas on what is going to be coming. What is going to be the next big thing after induction coil heating? So, yeah. Ferrithus says, I'm not mad at the hot end swap on my Creality. 5 minutes is quick enough for me to switch between nozzle sizes. Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of minutes. It's not that bad, but Yeah, it's a thing now. And people expect that courtesy or that convenience, I guess to say. Is it a big deal killer? No. As much as I complain, I think everything gets so easy for us that we complain about the little things. And that's what Ferrithus pops out. To be honest, I don't even think it takes 5 minutes to switch out a nozzle on my K2 Plus. I mean, really, you just get the thing. And if you had the electric screwdriver, burp, 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 boom, pull it out, put in the next one, burp, 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 and you're done. You could probably get it down to a minute. So, whoop-de-doo. But it's still, the convenience is nice. Convenience is nice. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Some interesting stuff. Other things that I'm doing is, if you take a look at the desk there, I've got some kit cards for some Star Wars stuff that I've been printing out on from Galactic Armory. I'm part of their Patreon, and so I want to show you some of that. And matter of fact, that's what I'm printing out now, is another kit card. And because I have a lull in the storm when it comes to printing, so I just wanted to do something a little bit different. So we've got like the Y-wing here. And this was printed at, is this, I think this is 0.16 is what this was printed at. And this is one of those little kit cards, a card that, you print out and you can, punch out, kind of like the old sprues and stuff like that. And yeah, that comes out really cool. So I think this is going to be a really neat project. And you can see the layer lines on there. I think if we can try to angle that right. There you go. You can see the layer lines. So, but it turned out pretty good. I like that little thing there. So we've got the Y-wing, and then we've got the other one here, which is going to be the X-wing, which you see some of the details on there. And again, you can see this is 0.2 millimeters, but I mean that turns out pretty good. And for just hanging this up or putting it on the display or whatever, that's going to be cool. And then, the snow speeder. So we got a snow speeder that we're printing out and doing that as well. So what I might end up doing is taking these, and maybe I'll make them and I'll hang them from the ceiling and have kind of like the Y-wing and a couple of X-wings, and maybe what I'm printing out now is the TIE Interceptor, which if we take a look at that, yeah, that's still printing out. We've got 3 hours and 38 minutes left on that baby. So that's going to be going for a little while. So, and what is that? Question is, what is that printing at? 0.2 layer height. Okay. So, yeah, that's going to be, well, we'll see how those turn out. And I can do a little bit of painting stuff on here and, put these up, and maybe I'll find a Death Star, and maybe in the corner of the room or something, I'll have a Death Star hanging with some, little diorama stuff hanging from the ceiling or whatever. But yeah, they look pretty cool. Pretty cool. Definitely digging it. So we'll see how those go. But yeah, we'll do some painting on that. And yeah, I just wish the Star Wars trilogy movies were as nice as these. We can only dream that George Lucas will take back his baby and feed it and nourish it and make great movies again instead of the stuff that we have now. So yeah, there's that. Okay. Ferrithus says, not even talking about the nozzle and switching out. I just swapped the hot end assembly. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oops. What am I doing? What's going on? Okay. Nice. Nozzle in out isn't that great because of the soft threads inside. Ruined one of my hot ends like that. Bought 3 hot ends for a 4, a 6, and a 2. Yeah, that's definitely a good way. And like you said, the cards came out really nice. Yeah, it'll be good. I'll probably do a video where I put some of those together. It won't be today, and then I'll go ahead and paint those up. Veritha says, I'm doing an illuminated sign for a friend right now, combining translucent plastic for backlit and cutout and stained wood for panels. Cool. Man, always cool stuff. Everybody's got cool stuff that they're doing. It's always fun, creating, making stuff, and stuff that keeps us out of trouble. What is that old saying? Idle hands is the devil's workshop. Yeah, so whenever the wife complains, it's like, listen, I go to the gym and I do hobby stuff. It keeps me busy and out of trouble. So, and she's like, yeah, you're right. So there's something to be said for that. It's good. It's all good. So anyway, saving up the nickels and dimes in eventually maybe, depending on Bondtech and the company that they go with their index system, or maybe a laser engraver that's coming out. I don't know. I seem to want to do more 3D printing stuff than laser engraving right now. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. And I'm sending out emails to different companies in the hopes of being able to review some products. So, but yeah, it's just haven't gotten anything back. I'll get emails from companies. They'll say, hey, are you interested? And I jump on it like a dog on a bone and never hear anything back. And I've even emailed some of the other people because it's kind of like emailed to a number of different people besides myself, or courtesy copied, and I've asked some people and said, hey, have you heard anything back from this company on reviewing their products and so on and so forth? And they're like, no, I haven't heard anything. Kind of in the same boat. So I'm not sure if it's just a feeler or there's some bar that apparently, I don't know, maybe I need 75,000 subscribers, or maybe I need 100,000 subscribers, and then they'll send product. But then I've seen people that don't even have as many subscribers as I have getting products from companies. And so I'm really at a loss. I just don't know how all that works. I don't know if there's a company out there that matches YouTubers with 3D printing companies, hobby tech companies and stuff like that. If you know any of those, throw me a bone and let me know. I would definitely like to try that out, to do some reviews and get some good products. So, or bad products. It depends on how the review goes. So, yeah. We have to go. Okay, we have to go. We're going to the ginkgo tree thing. Faritha says, I bet they send it to 1,000 people and they pick the positive responses with ones with largest audience. Yeah, probably. Just need to go on with that. So anyway, the best thing that you all can do is like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll do the obligatory outro. If you want to contact me, there's the email address. Bunch of people bought me coffee, there's that. But the best thing that you could do is like and subscribe, because trying to meet that algorithm and the levels of whatever companies, I think they look more towards subscribers and likes and views than buying coffee. So that would be the way to go. That's the way you could help me out. So anyway, we're going to cut this short because we have a trip. We got to meet up with a couple, and we're going to go see some changing leaves of the great Korea fall colors. And we're going to get some coffee and lattes and cake and all kinds of cool stuff. So, Bertha says, just keep going. You're already on the list. Just got to keep going. Nefertim says, greetings, Steve. It's a pleasure to see you again. The subject matter you presented is excellent and highly engaging. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully I can continue doing that. Berthas, have a good day, and everybody else as well. Thank you for watching, George, and everybody else. Again, remember, like and subscribe to the channel. That would help me out the most. And if you do that, then we'll see you on the next video. All right? Peace. Good stuff. Good stuff.